You're listening to The Waste Less Life, a podcast for the planet.
I'm Blake.
And I'm Spencer, and we're here to remind you that you don't have to be completely wasteless to waste less.
Everyone has what it takes to help the planet. So on this podcast, we'll give you easy, everyday tips on how you can reduce your environmental footprint, throw away less, and do your part to make the world a better place for everyone.
We know not everyone can change their whole life to be dedicated environmentalists, but we think that if we all made a few small efforts, our planet would thank us.
Today's topic is clothing waste, something that's really easy to forget about, but it's a huge contributor to the needless and unnecessary waste that ends up in our landfills.
It's actually not that hard to forget about because you have to wear clothes every day. You open up your closet and you put something on, so...
Yeah, you're right, that it is something we use every day. I think that the reason I kind of think of it not as waste is because it's not something that I throw away all the time. I'm not constantly throwing something away every time I use it, so...
Right. Clothing typically gets a lot of use out of its life, but there are factors that go into the waste, and we're going to talk about that, obviously.
Okay, so I pulled up some statistics just to show how monumental and insane the waste in the clothing industry is. So the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, estimates that 13 million tons of clothing and footwear is made every year, and the primary ingredients or materials for that are textiles, rubber, and leather. And 13 million tons is, I think, a number that I can't really even comprehend at all, but I think just the fact that I can't comprehend it shows how much waste it is. It's so much.
I always, whenever I think of a ton, I just think of an elephant. And so, I think of 13 million elephants, stacked on top of each other. That's like a mountain.
Yeah.
That's, so much clothes.
And that's
a year.
Every year. Yep. And the same EPA report that I was reading shows that it's more than 10 million tons every year is being thrown away. But that number is new. Back 15 or 20 years ago, it wasn't nearly that high. This is all kind of a new thing. And it's not just the materials, the textiles, rubber, and leather that's being thrown away. Even the production of all of these clothes is wasteful. The United Nations Economic Commission for Europe found that 20%, that's 1/5 of all of our wastewater, comes from the fashion industry. So we're not just throwing a bunch of stuff in a landfill, we're also wasting precious resources to make way more clothes than we need. And all of these are higher than they used to be. And that's because we've got this new thing around called fast fashion.
Yeah, it's all for your cute little hot pink crop top that you got from a fast fashion retailer. I won't name drop. I'll be nice.
Anywhere where you pay $5 for an item of clothing, that's fast fashion.
$5 for that cute little crop top that you'll wear for one summer, and then it'll get a little hole in it after you wash it, and then it's over. What do you do after that?
Yeah.
So it is a big industry that is bad. I have purchased a few things from fast fashion, but usually I try to go for an essential item without a logo or a me phrase like Taco Tuesday, Wasted Wednesday, silly little t-shirts like that you'll wear twice for the fun of it, and then sits in your closet or gets thrown away,
Yeah, and for those who don't know, fast fashion is this sort of business model where the clothing industry is constantly introducing these new styles every year or season, and companies use cheap, inhumane labor and bad quality.
Super cheap quality. Most of the stuff is also made with polymers instead of actual cotton. A lot of t-shirts are made of plastic these days, which is, equally as bad.
Yeah, so these fast fashion companies, they use all of these shortcuts and kind of cut the corners to make the cheapest thing possible, because all they're trying to do is produce an item that is trendy. Not meant to last a long time. It's seasonal. They're going to be a new thing in a few weeks anyway, so it's not meant to last. It's just to help provide people for, a cheap thing that they can buy inexpensively that is in or stylish for the season. So anything that kind of fits that criteria, that's what we're talking about when we talk about fast fashion.
You can look really cute with the shirts and pants, but as soon as they end their, cuteness factor after that spring or fall season, then what happens to it? Sometimes people they'll take them to a place to donate them, and they'll find a loving new home. Somebody else will think that the shirt is cute, which is great. Donating is a good way to recycle clothing and make sure the lifespan is a little bit longer than it could be. Best way to combat that is to just not buy into fast fashion. Fast fashion's, like you said, really cheaply made. So a lot of the times when you buy things from those types of stores, they don't last very long.
It's also not just the fact that these clothes are going to end up in a landfill or end up sitting on a Goodwill hanger for the rest of, the year. It's also that clothing takes a lot to make. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of water that goes into it, but tons of resources go into making clothing. Just one t-shirt requires over 2,000 liters of water to make. So it's not just the cotton or the plastic or the whatever materials that go into it. And it's not just the toxic chemicals going into the environment. And it's not just the exploited workers. It's also like just wasted resources. If we made higher quality shirts, we wouldn't have to use 2,000 liters of water as often. If we could just make something that lasts a little bit longer or isn't just in for the season. So a place where I learned a lot about this is a documentary called The True Cost. Definitely recommend it to anybody. It's a short hour-long documentary that shows how the behind the scenes of a lot of this fast fashion industry. And it's very eye-opening, really interesting. So definitely check that out if you're interested at all in this.
So that 2,000 liters of water, that includes the water that it takes to grow the materials to make that, or is that just going to like dyeing, processing? Like,
I think probably the growing of the cotton as well. This number comes from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and I'd have to look up to learn more of the details about it, but I think it's the entire sort of life cycle of the shirt. So the growing, the dyeing, the whole kind of production process. If we didn't do it as often, like if you bought a shirt that lasted twice as long, boom, you've just saved 2,000 liters of water. If you just buy a shirt that you're not going to throw out this year that you're going to use for another season instead of replacing it with whatever funny saying or trend or Super Bowl teams are in that year, then you can just save a ton of water and resources by just using something that lasts a little bit longer. And that kind of pushes us into the next topic of how we can sort of fight this fast fashion industry. Because Spencer, you and I are very passionate about the planet, but you and I can't shut down the entire fashion industry despite our awesome style. What we can do is try to buy things that don't exploit workers, that aren't wasting a bunch of resources, and try to buy things that are going to last us a lot longer because they're not just trendy and low quality and cost $5 because they're such terrible quality. We can buy things that are high quality, that last, and that are sort of timeless in their style. Don't get something that, has a bunch of logos or sayings like you were saying. Get something that's going to still be fashionable in 3 years, that matches a lot of your clothes, not something that you can only wear 2 times a year because it's like so specific or something like that. Try to get things that last a long time as a way that we can sort of stay away from that fast fashion industry.
Right. I love clothes. I love fashion. And I guess I would say the easiest thing that I've done to convert my closet into more low waste is I buy a lot of black clothes because black goes with everything. Black is timeless. I mean, it's not like some sort of crazy color of the year. Black goes with every season. But I also try to buy a bunch of things that don't have any logos on them, or it's neutral color. I love green. I love like burnt orange, like earth tones. Those are timeless colors. Like you can wear them any time of the year and you'll still, I'm not going to say that everybody's going to look good in that, but like if you find your style and find your favorite colors, find like a good brand or something like that is going to be like durable and like flexible to your body and something that you can wear over and over again and still feel good over the years. That's like the best thing that you can do in terms of buying a high quality piece of clothing. I always look for like the material of it. I try to like touch the tactile material and make sure I know that it's not going to like be something that's going to like get a little hole in it if I walk too close to a brick wall or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and another benefit of having this kind of like wardrobe that you're describing, something that, you know, like you find your shirt that you really love. I think everybody listening has like that one shirt that they love. It's the most comfortable, or they love how they look in it, or whatever. If you pay more attention to what you buy instead of just like buying a bunch of cheap stuff and, you know, wearing it 10 times until it's worn out. If you buy some of these high quality things that really fit your style and that you really like, that means that all of your clothes are like your favorite thing. You don't have to like wait until, you know, you get to that one favorite shirt in your closet. Like, just buy 10 of your favorite shirt, and boom, every single day is your favorite shirt. You don't have to stress about what to wear in the morning. You've only got a few clothes that match everything that you've got. I mean, it's not just the environmental impacts. It's also just more comfortable and more fun to have just a few clothes that you like.
Yeah, exactly. Every single piece of clothing that you put on, if you feel good, you'll feel your whole life will change in a little bit of a way.
So yeah, if you're interested in this sort of smaller wardrobe, you can Google capsule wardrobes is a way that a lot of people refer to it. And there's a ton of resources for how to build a capsule wardrobe that works for you with just a few pieces of clothing that are versatile and look good and work with everything and work in any kind of environment. And there are also a lot of sustainable clothing companies that are working to treat their employees better, to use better materials, and to make sure that their clothes aren't going to end up in landfills or end up polluting the earth. There's a couple of clothing companies that I wanted to mention. The first one is called Tentree, and they're a clothing company that makes like shirts and shorts and pants. And the cool thing about them is for every single item you purchase, they'll plant 10 trees. So not only do they use sustainable materials, but they're also doing good every time you buy something, so you don't have to feel bad about buying from them. There's also a company that I've used a ton called Allbirds. That's like all the shoes you've ever seen me wear, Spencer, are Allbirds.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're cute. They're very simplistic, minimal,
super stylish.
They look comfy.
Super comfy. Oh my gosh. And Allbirds is a 100% carbon neutral company. So all of the carbon that they produce, they offset, and they try to limit the carbon that they produce in the first place. And all of their shoes are made from sustainable materials.
Really? Okay.
The ones that you've seen me wear are made from merino wool and sugarcane to make the soles. And then all of the laces are made from recycled post-consumer plastic bottles, which is pretty cool. So if you're looking for some high quality, sustainable clothing options, check out Tentree and Allbirds. They're not sponsoring this because we're a small podcast and don't have sponsors, but I really love their products. So go check it out.
When it comes to buying clothes, I always try to look, honestly, I try to look towards like brands that are geared towards people who go hiking or spend a lot of time outdoors, because those clothes are really durable. They're usually made to withstand being it through all the rough stuff, and usually they're made from cotton too, which cotton does take a lot of resources to produce, but it is one of the most durable materials compared to like polyester or polyurethane, the plastic shirts that fall apart really easily whenever you wash them.
Where do you shop secondhand?
I usually just go to Goodwill. That's where I find like a majority of my wardrobe items. Like, I would say 80% of my clothes that I have in my current clothing rotation is from Goodwill, which is surprising. Nice. But you can find a lot of really nice stuff there. I have really nice pants. I've gotten like a Calvin Klein t-shirt from there, which, those are really well made. But whenever I buy a new piece of clothing, I always try to replace it instead of adding it to my collection. If I buy a t-shirt, I take out a t-shirt that I don't wear very much and I donate it or try to give it to one of my roommates to see if they want to have it. But I try to keep a rotating closet in that respect. And that way it's almost like I'm borrowing clothes. You can buy a t-shirt for $3 from a secondhand shop and I can donate it. $3 for a high quality t-shirt, like that's amazing. I wear it for however long I want it. I like it. And then it's still going to be a durable shirt. Usually I try to buy like the most durable shirts that I can buy or timeless shirts. So by the time I'm, ready to wear something else or it might not fit me anymore, I try to donate it and give it a second life. Somebody hopefully will like the shirt that I wear because I like to think that I'm fashionable.
Yeah, and the benefit of that is you're saving both of those shirts from a landfill. When you get tired of a shirt, you don't have to throw it away. You go donate it, and when you want to replace it, you're not buying something new that's creating demand for these, cheap, resource heavy clothing items. You're buying one that someone else was going to throw out. So you saved that one from a landfill because you're wearing it and giving it a new life, and you're giving somebody your old shirt so that they can wear it and save it from a landfill. So not to mention the fact that it's just like cheaper and
It's so much cheaper.
yeah, $3 for a shirt. That's cheaper than fast fashion.
Oh yeah, I mean honestly, and if you're going for the fast fashion route, buying secondhand, you can honestly find a lot of styles. Like here's an example. So style always comes back around. Everybody knows that. The 90s, 80s, 70s is a big style right now, and one of the coolest things is that you can go into a secondhand shop and find something that is in style that's actually vintage and upcycle it. You can, add it to your wardrobe, make it modern. You can add a new button to it if you're handy with sewing. I mean, you can tailor things that are old and make them fit you, which is the best part. I've noticed a lot of younger kids like wearing kind of 70s inspired clothing, which is really cool because those clothes are, out there. That style is already out there in the world. It's already existed. Those clothes that have like lasted through that time and they still exist in other people's hands or in like secondhand stores. You can still go out and get a cheap fashionable outfit secondhand. You don't have to buy like a plain t-shirt to be sustainable. You can still look good. Like I bought a shirt the other day that's really flashy. It's got like some blue stripes. It looks like a tree. That's going to be like a cute little shirt that I wear whenever I'm feeling fancy. Mm-hmm. And whenever I decide that I don't like the style anymore, I can donate it and somebody else who likes it can adopt that into their wardrobe. So I like to think of clothing as its own cyclical market. There's always, as long as there's not like major defects in the clothing, it can always be reused, which is awesome. And what I've found is there are actually a lot of like, it's been harder to come by lately, but I feel like it's going to have a huge resurgence. But I used to go to what would be called like clothing swaps or closet swaps, where you just bring a bunch of your clothes that you don't really like. They might be like really fashionable, but you might not vibe with that look anymore. And everybody brings like 6 or 7 shirts or however much they want to bring, and everybody just kind of like shops other people's closets. It's a really cool thing. Usually it'll be like at a park or something. You just get some clothes literally for free. Like bring your clothes, swap some clothes, go home. Like it's awesome. It's a community building thing too.
Yeah, and hey listeners, if that sounds cool but you don't know of any closet swaps around you, like host one. That's something that you could do even if you don't want to do it with a bunch of strangers. Just find a bunch of friends who maybe are similar in size to you or have maybe not even similar tastes. Maybe you'll find something very interesting that you wouldn't have thought would be your taste. But just get with a bunch of your friends and host your own closet swap. I think that would be a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun than a lot of other things that you're going to do with your friends on Friday night. Why not have a clothing swap? It's like going shopping, but yeah, that would be fun.
Clothing party. It is a cool idea, and I hope it makes a big comeback. Post pandemic, everybody kind of stopped touching other people's stuff for a little bit, or being having group activities. So for the clothes that don't have the ability to be reused in its intended way, my grandma actually makes quilts, and a lot of people go to Goodwill and they purchase fabrics that are like really unique, and they actually like remake their own clothings in different styles. I think that's like kind of a neat thing, making a textile into something that it wasn't originally intended to be. Like you could buy an old pair of pants and make it into a bag. Like I think that's a cool way to upcycle clothes that might have rips or stains or holes or something. You can re-dye a shirt that might have like a bleach stain. I've done that a couple times. There's infinite ways that you can reuse your own clothes or things that already exist.
Yeah, we've cut up old t-shirts that are stained or have paint on them or something like that. We've like cut them up and used them for like dirty rags around the house. If we wanted to clean something that we didn't want to use like a nice rag for, like we're cleaning something outside or like cleaning a bicycle or something like that, we'll just use those, and we don't care if they get dirty or nasty. They're just sort of our like, they're for the dirty jobs. And so, we kind of give some of our old shirts or clothing items a second life by using them for that.
Yeah, I do the same. I mean, I grew up doing that. It is really easy to come up with different uses for your clothes if you're not wearing them.
One other thing that you can do if you want to reduce your environmental impact when it comes to clothes is to just make your clothes last longer. You can do that, like we mentioned, by buying higher quality things, but you can also just extend the life of the clothes that you already have.
Look at the tags. Pay attention to the tags that are on the clothes, because usually those gives you tips on how to extend the life, like only wash cold. There's a reason why that's on the tag. Like you don't have to wash your pants every single time you wear them, unless you get like salsa on it or something. The way that I grew up, my mom was a clean freak, so every time I wore anything, even if it was for like 10 minutes, would go into the dirty laundry basket and it would get washed. That's how I thought everything was supposed to be. But as I got older, I realized, hey, if I wear my pants for even a day, if I'm just going around the house or like to just around town and not really getting gross or sweaty, I don't usually have to wash those after the end of the day because they still smell fine and they look fine. So
yeah, I won't even admit publicly how long I go before I wash my jeans, but I'll just say, like, stop washing your jeans all the time. Oh my gosh, it makes them fade faster, it wears them out faster, and jeans don't smell. If you're wearing underwear and not just being like super dirty, now I'm not talking about like if you mow the lawn or you like get super nasty doing yard work, like, okay, well, first of all, don't do that in jeans. But anyway, like if your jeans get dirty, wash them, but you don't have to wash them all the time. You can get by on just washing them, I'm going to say, a few times a season. I think that's plenty for blue jeans.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unless you're like me and you have sweaty knees. But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you don't have to wash everything you wear every time you wear it. There is the smell test. Obviously, you can perform the smell test. It's cheap. It's free. All you got to do is pick it up and give it a whiff and make sure it smells good. Maybe steam it up in your shower or something before you wear it. Yeah, not washing something all the time cuts down on water waste, cuts down on the chemical waste too that you produce whenever you use laundry detergent. Laundry detergent, there's a ton of stuff in there that is wasteful, but that's for a different time to talk about. But there's also ways that you can fix your clothes as well that extends the life. I've seen you patch up your shirts, little holes that you get. It's easy with a little needle and a spool of thread.
Yeah, you can save so many things from going in a landfill or having to be turned into old t-shirt rags just by learning some super basic sewing skills.
Exactly.
Literally all I own is a needle and thread. I don't have a sewing machine. I don't know any like fancy sewing patterns or anything. I just like look up a quick tutorial on how to sew something, or just to be able to patch up a rip, or, add a little patch to something, or, replace a button that's popped off. Just any of those like really basic things can save you a lot of money because you're not having to replace things as often. But it's also just better for everything to be able to just fix something on your own. So definitely buy yourself a cheap sewing kit, or go to find a secondhand sewing kit. Better yet, I bet there's a lot of sewing kits at like Goodwill and used places like that. But
Honestly,
anyway, get a sewing kit and learn how to use it, and just save your clothes from the landfill by taking a little bit of care of them.
It will change your mentality from, oh, darn, I have to get rid of this, to, oh, darn, the shirt that I really like has a small tear, under the armpit that nobody's going to be able to see. If you patch it up real quick, it'll be just as good as new. Like, it's the little things that you can save a shirt for a little bit longer.
Well, Spencer, we like to end every episode of The Waste Less Life with 2 easy tips, 2 easy takeaways that people can implement this week, that they can start on right now to reduce their environmental impact. And when it comes to clothing waste, my super simple tip is to try to find a way to not buy as much. Now, you can go all out and make like a capsule wardrobe like we mentioned earlier, trying to slim down your belongings. What you can do is take the clothes that you think maybe aren't that important, take all of the clothes that you don't absolutely love, and just throw them into storage for a month or two. And if you need something, go get it. But if you find at the end of the couple of months that you've still got a storage bin full of stuff that you didn't need in all that time, then maybe donate all of that and just stick with the stuff that you really needed. But if you don't want to go that far, you could also just implement like a no-buy month or a no-buy season or a no-buy week if you're that into shopping. Whatever, works for you. Choose a period of time and say, I'm not going to buy any new clothing during this time. And that can help you kind of get into the groove of appreciating what you have and using what you have and finding creative ways to use the clothes that you already own to, meet whatever fashion needs you have. And so that's my advice. Either try to have a capsule wardrobe, or if nothing else, just try to not buy anything for like a whole month or a whole 3 months or whatever period of time works.
I guess my tip would be along the lines of yours. Just simplifying your wardrobe would be the most essential thing of doing, but like finding your look, finding your style, sticking to those, simple patterns, simple colors, and making sure that whenever you do purchase clothes, you purchase something that you can keep wearing for a few months, a few years. I would think towards the future whenever you purchase something. Make sure you purchase something that is not just going to be, cute for the spring, but you can keep wearing year after year. Just like pay attention to the textile material and make sure that it's something that will last you the way that you need to use it. And wear what you want. I'm not saying, wear all black all the time. Like don't keep your style. Keep your style, but think about your style in a more sustainable way.
I like it. Good tip, Spencer. This episode of The Wasteless Life is plastic-free and infinitely reusable, so give it another listen, guilt-free. Or recycle this episode by sharing it online or with a friend who you think would enjoy it.
And follow us on Instagram at Wasteless Podcast. Thank you for listening to our show, and we appreciate your support.